So I want to start with what billionaires want. There's two stories, one in The Guardian this morning and the other one on Common Dreams, that address this. They're both the result of two different studies. One was a study by the Institute for Public Policy Studies, Institute for Policy Studies, IPS. And we've had people from IPS on this program many, many times. And it's about the accumulation of wealth in the United States. And they point out that Jeff Bezos, who is, the founder of Amazon, Bill Gates, and Warren Buffett, these three guys right now have more wealth than the bottom half of America. These three men. They add as median household wealth has declined since 1982. And by the way, household wealth is still, in the 40s, 40 grand more or less. In fact, I think in some areas it's in the 50s. But that's because more than two people now are working in the median household. You go back to 1980 when it was like 1.2 people working in the median household. And median household wealth was a little less, but median individual income was actually higher than it is right now. But in any case, as median household wealth has declined since 1982, the Walton, Koch, and Mars families, these are three families that inherited their wealth. The Koch brothers inherited their wealth from Daddy. The Walton family inherited their wealth from Sam. And the Mars family inherited their wealth from their grandfather who founded the candy company. Those three companies since 1982 have seen their wealth grow by 6,000%. A full-time worker at Amazon making $15 an hour, in order to earn the $78.5 billion, which is the amount that Jeff Bezos has made in the last year alone, just Jeff Bezos, in order to make that $78 billion, they would have to work 2.5 million years. Josh Hoxie, who is the co-author of the report, says today's extreme wealth inequality is perhaps greater than any time in American history. This is largely the result of rapidly growing dynasties, wealth dynasties, and a rigged economy that enables the ultra-wealthy to grow their wealth to never-before-seen highs. Chuck Collins, Institute of Policy Studies, says these families have used their wealth and power to lobby and rig the rules to expand their wealth and power. And I would point out, this is, I keep going back to the Powell Memo in 71, Lewis Powell being put on the Supreme Court in 72 by Richard Nixon, and then in 1976 and 78, Lewis Powell in 78, he actually authored the decision. In 76, he concurred in the decision in the cases of Buckley versus Vallejo, and First National Bank versus Bellotti in 76 and 78, respectively. Those two decisions were the first time in the history of the United States, literally from the founding of the Republic until 1976, the first time in the history of the United States that the Supreme Court had ruled that giving money to a politician was a constitutionally protected right. No Congress ever proposed this. No president ever proposed this. No state ever proposed this. In fact, the opposite. Congress has passed numerous laws regulating money in politics, and they've been signed into law by numerous presidents enthusiastically. And some states even had this written into their constitution in addition to laws. All got struck down by the Supreme Court. And then this got amplified even greater in 2010 when the five conservatives, the five Republican appointees in the court, passed the Citizens United decision, and then 2013 McCutcheon, which said basically if you're a billionaire, you can own an unlimited number of politicians. Up to that point, you could only own something over 200 politicians. Seriously, there was this law. These, if you look at just the Kochs, the Walmart, and the Mars family, those three wealth dynasties, they own a combined $348 billion. Can you imagine what we could do with that? I mean, I don't want all of it. Each one of them can have, hey, let them keep $1 billion each. It's fine with me. If you look at the 15 wealthiest families with multiple members on the Forbes 400 list, the wealth of every single one of those families came from companies started by an earlier generation. Combined, those 15 families are worth $618 billion. So and they point out, contrary to the right-wing view that the vastly unequal wealth distribution in American society is the unavoidable result of market forces. No, it's not. There's nothing inevitable about it, because once the Republicans on the Supreme Court ruled that giving money to politicians or using money to buy legislation was protected by the First Amendment, guess what? Rich people started pouring money into the coffers of politicians. And politicians have been doing what they want. Now, Benjamin Page, Jason Seawright, and Matthew Lacombe are writing over at The Guardian. They did an exhaustive study of the 100 wealthiest billionaires in the United States over a 10-year period, all of their public statements and what they're actually lobbying for. The question I'm asking here, by the way, is what do we do about our billionaire problem? We have a problem with the morbidly rich here in the United States. I personally think a wealth tax, if you have wealth in excess of $1 billion, then every year you pay 1% of everything above $1 billion to the government. I realize that's considered confiscatory, right? You know, it's literally the government taking somebody's money. But it is good for American society. It's good for democracy, and it's not going to hurt these families. You're telling me that if you've got $105 billion like the Koch brothers, and you have to pay $1 billion in taxes every year until you're down to just $1 billion, which is not going to happen in your lifetime, that's somehow going to harm you? I'm not buying it. Taking away people's health care, like Rick Scott did, that causes people to die. So what is it that the wealthiest people are doing? They looked at the 100 wealthiest billionaires in the United States over a 10-year period, and what they found was that most of America's wealthiest billionaires resemble Charles Koch politically. Quote, obsessed with cutting taxes, especially the estate tax, which only applies to the wealthiest Americans, opposed to government regulation of the environment, opposed to government regulation of big banks, unenthusiastic about government programs to help with jobs, to help maintain incomes of working people, to provide health care to American people, or for retirement pensions. They broadly oppose all these things, or they just don't care. And they're all in favor of cutting or privatizing guaranteed Social Security benefits. So the question, what do we do about this?